Good night. Good night. Thank you for tuning in to Leadership Conversations. It's truly an honor and a privilege to join you all tonight. It's another beautiful Monday, as I always like to say. We are starting the week off brand new, starting it fresh, and it's truly sometimes it's truly a privilege that we got to take the time to thank God for all that He has done, all that He is doing. Good evening, Sister Susan. Good evening, Pastor Asha. Thanks you so much for tuning in. Excuse me. This is it's truly it's another week, the beginning of another week. We're started kicking the week off, getting ready to move into Thanksgiving. Right, we're getting ready to celebrate. It's truly a time, as I always say, to give thanks to God for all that He has done, to be appreciative of all that we have. Right, it's truly, especially in the time that we are in, we have to recognize the importance of giving God praise and and being appreciative of all that we have. We have family, we have friends, we have loved ones that care for us. And so sometimes we got to take the time and move past the things that we don't have and stop focusing on the things that we don't have, but be appreciative of the things that we do have. And so I want to take the time to thank each and every person that joins us live. It's been an amazing journey. It's been an amazing time. And each time we have these conversations, I hear so much positive feedback. And I really thank God for you. I thank God for all that we are able to do and get things done through Keen Vision and these leadership conversations. Because ultimately we want to help to build leaders to help recognize their capability and recognize their ability to make a difference, to make a change, and to be a positive light, right? Everywhere we go, it's our responsibility, it's our duty to bring life. And so we have change. And so it's been like I said, it's been a great journey. Good evening. This is Janice. Thanks for tuning in. So take time, share, comment, share, tag someone that you know that needs to hear this. We've been having an amazing conversations, amazing series about the voices in our head, the voices in my head. We've been talking about this for some time now, and I don't know. I want give me some of your feedback. How has this conversation been for you? How has this topic been for you? What are some of your takeaways from our discussions? So take a moment, put it in the chat. Let me know. Give me some feedback. Has this been helpful? Has it been something that you've been able to have a takeaway, or you have been able to acknowledge the voices that are in your head, and been have you become more aware of those things? So go ahead. I want you to just put it in the chat. Let me know some of your feedback. What are some of your takeaways? Right? What are some of the things that you've been able to learn and to get from this conversation about the voices in our head? Um, like I said before, it's some last week I said it was something that kind of started as an idea and it eventually evolved into this series, because one thing that we gotta recognize as leaders is that if we are aware and mindful of the different voices that are speaking to us, then we're able to take our power back. See, for so long we've been dealing with outside forces that have been taking our power from us, right? And have been having this influence on our decision making, that's been influencing the things that we want to do. There's been influencing our pursuit or lack thereof of our dreams and our goals. And when we recognize that these voices are not for our benefit and we take the power back, we take the influence back, I think it puts us in a better position for our vision building, for our goals, for our dreams to become a reality. And so it's important that we recognize these things and we talk about it, because these are some of the challenges that we face as leaders and as people that are as visionaries and vision builders. These are some of the challenges that we face and so that we have to overcome. So I'm not seeing anything in the chat. Let me know. I want your feedback. What are some of your takeaways? What are some things that you've learned about yourself? Um, I thank God for my pastor who yesterday mentioned it while he was touching speaking in the service, because when you really think about it, we've been living with voices in our heads, and we always think that it's only people that are considered crazy, but really and truly we all have different voices speaking to us, and we all have different things that are telling us contrary to what God has ordained or called for us to do. And so when we take that power back, when we're able to recognize that this thing is has been keeping us, holding us back for too long, and we're able to silence those voices and really tune into the frequency that God has given us, right? That God has given us as leaders to be able to really wholeheartedly pursue after our dreams. And so far we've been discussing the different voices. We talked about fear, we talked about disappointment, we talked about rejection, we talked about past traumas and past hurts, we've talked about the doubt, right? We talked about all these things that have been a hindrance to us, that have been speaking to us all of our lives because of various situations and challenges that we've had to experience from the day that we were born. When you think about it, from the day that we were born, we've been battling certain we've been having certain experiences that have been shaping us and shaping our thought life and our thought pattern and our decision making. So we talked about that. We talked about how it can create put us in a position of self-sabotage. Right? We talked a little bit about self-sabotage a couple of weeks ago, and how when we allow the voices in our head to kind of discourage us and influence us, it sometimes pushes us into this position of self sabotage. So these are some of the things that we talked about last week. We talked about, right, being overwhelmed. What do you do when you become so overwhelmed? You become so tired because the voices are talking to you while you're trying to build, and you're fighting this uphill battle, right? Many of us were fighting uphill battles as leaders because we don't have the resources, we don't have the training, we don't have the mentors, we don't have the teachers that are pushing us and encouraging us to go ahead. We don't have any measurements to show us whether or not we're doing the right thing. And so how do you deal with it? It becomes overwhelming. It becomes overwhelming at times, trying to deal with the uncertainty of what you're doing, right, as well as battle the voices in our heads. So these are some of the things that we've been talking about, and I'm excited to continue the conversation. The plan is to keep this conversation going until the end of the year. We only have a couple of weeks. When you think about it, we only have about 5 or 6 weeks. We have about 6 weeks left in 2021, and never thought that we would even get to this point, but we are 6 weeks away. And so the last 2 weeks of December, I won't be on. Of course, it's going to be Christmas time and celebration of New Year's, and so we're gonna I'm gonna allow everyone to kind of have the opportunity, as well as myself, right? Because family, you got to take care of your family. Family is most important, and so the last couple of weeks I won't be online, but for the next few weeks we're going to continue the conversation about the voices in our head, because I truly believe, and I really believe this. I truly believe that 2022 is going to be a year that's going to be full of acceleration, and it's going to be a year that's going to allow us to really be catapulted into what we're called to do, and it's going to be a year to really put the effort into changing the game. Right? If for those of you that remember what I talked about 2021 being the year of changing the game, it has to start with our identity and start with us, right? We have to believe that we're capable of changing the game. And so when you are able to challenge and take down those voices, then you put you in a position where now you can have the confidence and the courage to be able to go forward and move and progress towards your dream. So we're going to continue that conversation next week, the next 3 weeks or so, next 3 or 4 weeks or so. Going to bring on other guests to share with me, to give us some tips that they've been able to use to help overcome their voices. We're going to be able to get another perspective, and we're going to have a really in-depth conversation about how do you challenge the voices in their head and the different tools that we can use. Right, at the end of the day, we're spiritual people, we're spiritual beings, and so we have to depend on the power of God. We have to depend on the power of prayer. We have to know what God is saying, right, so that we can be able to tune in and tap into his frequency and hear what he has to say about us. So I'm excited about that. I've already secured the guest, and I'm going to kick it off with my beautiful wife, Prophetess Asha McDermott. So I'm excited. I gave her the topic, and she's going to join me as my first guest, and she's going to talk about some of the tools that we can use, and from her background and from her experience, she's going to be able to share some of the things that she has, and some tips that we can glean from her on how to overcome and challenge the voices in our head. So excited about that. It's going to be a great conversation. And so we're going to jump right into our conversation for this week. But before I jump into it, don't want to forget, right? Black Friday is coming up. This Friday is Black Friday, and so of course there are always sales and things going on. And right, the weather is getting cold. The weather is starting to get a little nippy out there. It seemed like we were dealing with spring and summer all year, and then November hit, and it just automatically went from spring or from fall weather to winter. So because Black Friday is coming, or is upon us, right? I want to encourage you to get your Change the Game hoodie, your Vision hoodie and t-shirts. Most of you can log onto the site and be able to see some of the apparel and the clothing that we offer. Like I always say, the purpose of this is to help people see that we're leaders, and it helps to boost our confidence as leaders. Because sometimes you got to look at yourself in the mirror and recognize that you're a visionary. Sometimes you got to look at yourself in the mirror and look at what you're wearing and remind yourself to change the game. You got to remind yourself, and you got to show others that you're leaders. So you got to look the part as well as feel the part. And so starting from now until next Monday, Cyber Monday, you can go onto the website. You can order your hoodie and your t-shirts. I'm going to put it in the chat so that you can be able to see the link. You got to just use the promo code. Use the promo code Cyber25, and you'll be able to get a 25% discount on all hoodies and t-shirts. Listen, man, we're in a time where we need to change the game, and we need to make a difference. And like I said, you got to look the part as well as feel the part. And so I encourage you to please support. You can you can click the link in the chat. You can click the link in the chat and be able to order your hoodie, order your t-shirt, order something for a loved one, right? You have a son, you have a daughter, you have a niece, you have a nephew. Order a hoodie for them and let them know that they're visionaries. It's about encouraging one another to have that leadership mindset and to have that positive outlook. And so from now until the 29th, which is next Monday, you can order your hoodie and your t-shirt, and you can get a 25% discount for Black Friday with using the promo code Cyber25. So with that being said, want to jump into our next conversation. We're continuing the conversation talking about the voices in our head, and I mentioned all the other outside influences, the outside voices that speak to us, the that try to influence us, right? But what do you do, right? What do you do when the voices that you're battling is a little more familiar than the other ones, right? See, tonight we got to discuss the another prominent voice that has a major influence on our thought life, on our actions, on our decision making abilities, and that voice is you. What do you do when the voice that is influencing you, that has been affecting your decision making ability? What do you do when that voice is you? It's one thing when it's rejection, and it's one thing when it's doubt and it's failure and all of these things, right? Because those are outside spirits that try to influence us, and we take them on as our own. But there comes a time where the loudest voice that we have to overcome and that we have to battle, pertaining our life and pertaining our future, pertaining our leadership, is our own voice. Think about, you ever watch the cartoons? Excuse me, let me have some water. Sometimes the loudest voice that you have to battle is yourself, is your own voice. And you ever have see those cartoons, like a Tom and Jerry cartoon, where right before the character has to make a decision, right? Right before he or she has to make a decision, the angel pops up on one shoulder and the devil pops up on the other shoulder. Right? You see where they're at a crossroad, or the decision as to what are they gonna do, right? And you have the angel that pops up and it has the wings and it has on the white and it has on the halo, and it's telling that person, that character, to do good, right? But then you have the devil on the shoulder telling them to, and it has the horns and has the pitchfork, and it has this sneaky face, and it's telling them to do evil and to do bad. Have you ever noticed that the angel and the devil that pop up on the shoulders, they're never two different people. They're always different versions of the same character. So whether it's in Tom and Jerry, the angel that shows up is a good version of Tom, and the devil that shows up on the other shoulder is a bad version of Tom. It's never a different character, but it's different versions of that person or of that character. We as people, we have those same experiences where there are times where we have two different versions of ourselves that are fighting for influence in our decision making. There's the angel on one shoulder and there's the devil on the other shoulder. Both of them are two different versions of you, and we all deal with that, where we come to a point where we have to make a decision or we have to make a move, and so we got to decide, do I lean towards the influence of the angel, or do I lean towards the influence of the devil? We all have that, and there's no one that can tell me that they don't have that experience. Both of these voices, both of these influences are different iterations of ourselves that are giving us different pieces of advice, or trying to influence us differently. Will Smith, he just released his new memoir about his life, and he talks about some of his experiences that helped to shape who he is as a person. And he goes back and talks about some of his childhood issues, and some of his childhood experiences and his experiences getting in the industry and getting into acting. And he shares and talks about those experiences, and he mentions that there are two different personas that he are two different characters that he has created in his mind, right? He said that the nice guy is, he calls Uncle Fluffy. Uncle Fluffy, I don't know why, but he said that he explains that the nice guy, the good side of him, the good persona of him, he has named Uncle Fluffy, and that's the one who is always smiling, always telling jokes, always shaking hands and signing autographs, kissing babies. That's the Uncle Fluffy side. But then there's another side, a darker shadow that he named the General. And the General is the one that doesn't like to be confronted and doesn't like failure, and doesn't like confrontation, and doesn't like not to accomplish task. And he said that the General will punish you when you fail to complete a task. And these are the two different personas that he learned to create. And while many of us may not be at that extreme where we've created and named our personalities, we all have that kind of situation, or that kind of iteration of ourselves, where there's the good side of you and there's the bad side of you. As Christian leaders and believers, we all have what we call a sin nature. The sin nature that's not Christ-like, the sin nature that is always looking to for self-gratification, that's always looking to looking to appease itself, that's always looking to get what it wants, right? We may not call it Uncle Fluffy and we may not call it the General, but we have the Christ-like nature and we have the sinful nature. We all know that nature. We all know that aspect of us that whenever you hear or you read about Jesus saying that if someone slaps you, to turn the other cheek, that side of you, that sinful nature, it will always respond and say, I'll slap that person back. Turn the other cheek. I'm not turning the other cheek. I will slap you back. That's that sinful nature. We all have that side of us that doesn't necessarily react and respond in the most positive way. So it may not be Uncle Fluffy and it may not be the General, but we all have that thing. We all have that aspect of us that is always willing, that's willing and ready to do what is wrong. Right? You have the song that says, "Try Jesus, don't try me." That's the other side. That's the side of us that Paul was talking about, that when he said that when I would do good, evil is present with me. Right? That's the proverbial war within my members. Right? These are the things that we have to deal with, and we have to sometimes battle and overcome when we're dealing with making our decisions, because in times of decision making, when we come to certain crossroads and certain forks in the road, certain areas of our lives, right, that sinful nature shows up, right? That sinful nature rears its ugly head to speak to us and tries to influence us and tries to cause us to go contrary to what we know to do. Even Paul, right? Paul being the great apostle that he was, talked about it, right? When I would do good, evil presents itself. Evil is always with me. Right? It doesn't. He just says evil is always present with me, because that's that side of us tends to show up at the wrong time. Shows up at the wrong time, stands up at the wrong time, and it becomes the devil on our shoulder, trying to influence us to do contrary to what is required of us as leaders. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about this old man. Let's name it the old man. We all know the old man aspect of ourselves. right? It's the one that we don't bring to church with us on Sunday. We leave that at home. We will pull that out when we have a confrontation or issue at work, right? There are some situations where the old man just wants to you, and it's not even that the old man wants to show up. It's that the old man wants to show up and you want to tag the old man in, right? One of the benefits that we have as leaders is that we have the lovely pleasure of serving others. And when you serve others and when you lead others, you got to deal with different types of personalities. And some personalities are great to work with. They're positive, they are encouraging, they're easy to delegate responsibilities to, they're easy to work with. You can have a conversation with them, you can connect with them, and things are great and things are lovely and things are easy. But then there are those. We all know those. I I used to call them the problem child, the problem children. There are those that we have the wonderful privilege and honor of working with that know how to push the buttons. We all work with those people that just know the right and wrong buttons to push. And they know how to push you to the limit. They know how to hit the button to trigger the missile, right? They know how to be able to tap in and get you to that point where you just want to tag the old man in to just deal with it, right? You just want to say, hey, your turn, and just give me 5 minutes to just respond in in my flesh, right? Give me it's those situations where you say to yourself, man, if I wasn't saved, I would and if this was 5 years ago, man, I would have, right? It's those times where you deal with those individuals and you deal with those situations that get you to the point where you want to bring in the old you to handle it. And it just has to be something quick, right? It don't got to be long. I just need to just, like, God, I know you said that you'll take care of it, and I know that you said that vengeance is yours and that you'll surely repay it, and all that good stuff. And I know you said to turn the other cheek, and I know you said that if someone asks for my coat, you said to give them my shoes as well. And I know you said to love those who pray for those who despitefully use me, and all those good things. I know that's what you said, but just give me 2 minutes to take care of this the old way, the old me. Let the old me just have a conversation. Let the old me just respond real quickly. Right? Come on, don't tell me that I'm the only person that has that. Don't sit on this live and lie to me now. We all have those experiences. And sometimes, especially in times of conflict, in times of trouble, in times of problems, right? We want to be able to tap into that to come to our defense. See, the thing is that the old man, the person that you used to be, the person that will respond off of impulse, that is a persona that's created as a defense mechanism. It is created to help defend you, to defend you against conflict, to defend you against trouble, right? We all have gone through experiences in our lives that cause us to build a defense mechanism. And that defense mechanism helps to protect us, helps us to deal with those experiences, right? You've experienced something in your life that you don't want to experience again. You've been hurt, you've been disappointed, you've been broken, you've been betrayed, right? You had all of these experiences and you never want to experience them again. And so you start to build out defense mechanisms, and you start to build walls, and you start to build barriers, and you start to build different things around you. And that is what is the sum total of the old man. See, when we get saved and we come into Christ and we step into our roles as leaders, right? It forces us to now depend on God and to believe that God is going to take care of us rather than to rely on the defenses that we spent years cultivating and building. See, the old you was the defense that you created to help protect you so that you would never have to experience the hurt or the pain or the disappointment that you experienced that time. It is that thing that you do to protect yourself. See, the thing is that we have to understand, right, is that studies have shown that the first thing that we look to take care of is our physical needs, right? We look for air, like that's air, that's food, that's shelter, that's clothing. We are always looking to satisfy our physical needs. But after the physical needs are satisfied, the next thing that we look for is for security and for safety. And then after that, of course, is love and belonging, right? And so we build walls to protect us and to keep us safe because as people, we need to feel security. We need to be secure. We want to feel protected. We want to feel safe. And so the old man becomes a sum total of our defenses to help protect us and help us to overcome those things that make us feel unsafe. So we build walls and we build defenses and we try to do these things to protect us, right? And these defense mechanisms, this old man, this old nature, it can reflect or be expressed in different ways, right? For some people, it's expressed as anger. For some people, the defense mechanism is to be angry and to fight. For others, they internalize it, right? That's what they turn their anger, their frustration internally, and they blame themselves. They look at it as their fault, as something that they did wrong. For others, it can be just shutting down, right? When you get into a conversation or an argument that you don't like, you shut down. So you don't talk, you don't respond, you shut down, you close off all your emotions, you become stone faced, you become stoic, and you become emotionless. But some people, it's people pleasing, right? You want to make everybody happy because as long as everyone is happy, then there is no conflict. So I'm breaking this down because these are the different things that we create that influence us as we take this leadership journey. These are the things that influence and will speak to us above the disappointment, above the distractions, above the rejection, and above all of the other things. That defense mechanism, that old you, will become your opposition. Now, the walls that you built to protect yourself and the defenses that you built to protect you from outside danger now becomes a prison to you. It now becomes a barrier to you and to your progress and to your process. See, the unfortunate thing is that we don't recognize that eventually they become a barrier. There's nowhere to grow. There's no room for expansion. There's no room for progress because now you're stuck in this walled city that is around your heart that keeps you from trying, right? Because as leaders, it requires us to step out of comfortability, right? As leaders, you have to be willing to sacrifice, You have to be willing to sacrifice your security. You have to be willing to sacrifice your own needs to accomplish a dream, or to accomplish a purpose, or to build a ministry, or to build a business. You have to step out, because what if it doesn't work? Or what if it fails? Or what if you try to recruit and no one supports? What if you try to build and no one helps? And then all is what ifs that keep you, that help you feel unsafe and feel insecure. And so now the old you stands up and tells you, all right, you got to stop. You can't go any further, because danger, danger, danger. Right? How many times have we been afraid to reach out to others, been afraid to put our ideas out, been afraid to pursue after our business ideas, or after our goals, or after our dreams, because the old man is telling us it's dangerous over there? How many times have we had those experiences where someone betrayed your trust, and now it's hard for you to trust others to help you even build your dreams? Many of us, we fall into that situation where we have an idea and we have a dream and we have something that we want to build, but we hold it so tight and we're afraid to let others help. We are afraid to allow others to help us build it. And so we build it to a certain point, but we can't get it over the hump, or we can't expand it anymore, because we've reached our capacity. We reach our capacity because we're afraid to let anyone else get near it. That's the old nature. That's the old man. That's speaking to you. That's speaking in your ear. That's telling you, danger, danger, danger. Watch out. As leaders, we have a duty and we have a responsibility to be selfless. And yesterday I ministered and was ministering on Galatians 6 chapter 9, where it says that be not weary in well doing, right? For you shall reap if you faint not. And I got to the next verse, and it was so impactful. I was telling my wife that I was up there reading the scripture, and this one word that started to pop out at me out of the entire text. And it was like, when you have the opportunity, do good unto all men. And the word opportunity kept flashing at me, because we have to be willing as leaders to step out of our comfort zone and step out of our security net, to be selfless and to help others. So the things that your dream, your purpose, your assignment, your vision, your goals, whatever you want to call it, is not for you. It's to help others. It's to help others. And so when you hold back on pursuing after that goal because of self, right? Now you're no longer selfless, and you no longer have the opportunity to do good. Right? You become weary in well doing, right? You're doing good. You're doing well, right? But there comes a point where you have to go beyond what you're doing, and you have to get out of the defense, the fortress that you built around yourself, so that you can step into the unknown and help others. But again, the old nature will speak to you and tell you that's not a good idea. It's a bad idea, because you're putting yourself out there. You're putting yourself in harm's way, and you're putting yourself in a situation, in a potential situation where you can be hurt again. But see, one thing that one of the benefits that we have as people of God and as Christians is that we have a God who is our defense. We have a God who says that we are the apple of his eye, right? The apple of your eye, the pupil. Whenever anything dangerous comes close, their first instinct is to close it, to protect the eye, right? So we have a God that we serve who protects us, right? He said that he would never leave us nor forsake us. And so we have to adapt the new man, right? We have to adapt the new nature, which is the Christ-like nature, where we are willing to serve without fear of feeling unsafe. See, we have to be willing. We have to be willing to be transparent. We have to be willing to be available. And I want to make a side note. I want to stick a pin in that and make a side note that transparency is not the same as vulnerability. Many people, many leaders put themselves in positions to be hurt, to be betrayed, to have their trust broken because they don't know the difference between being vulnerable and being transparent. You can only be vulnerable to those that the individuals that you can truly trust, the inner circle that you spent years building a relationship with, right? You can only be vulnerable to those individuals that you know will take the shirt off their back to help you. You can only be transparent to those that you're leading. What's the difference? Think of a cut or an open wound, right? If you have an open wound, you don't expose your wound to someone who doesn't have the capacity to tend to it, right? If you expose the wound to someone who doesn't have the capacity to bandage you up, you put yourself in a position where they can throw dirt on you, they can contaminate the wound, they can infect the wound, and now that infection, that wound that needed to be bandaged was put into the hands of someone who wasn't capable of handling it, and now it grows into an infection and grows into something worse. You can only be vulnerable to those people that you know have the capacity to tend to your wounds. You don't reveal your wounds to people that don't have that capacity. What you reveal to them are your scars. See, transparency is revealing your scars, because after the wound is healed, after you've recovered, after you regain your strength and your health, you still have the scar tissue. You can be transparent and show the scar tissue and show your you be transparent and talk about your experiences that caused the scar, but you don't show the wound. And too many times leaders and individuals they fall and they have trust issues because they don't know the difference between who they can be vulnerable with and who they can be transparent with. I would never advise anyone to be vulnerable to people that they can't trust. If I can't trust you, I can't be vulnerable with you. I can be transparent because after I've already dealt with the pain, after I've already dealt with the hurt of the healing process, after the wound is closed and the skin has grown back, and I'm back to full health, then I can show you and say, hey, man, this I got this scar from this experience in my life, and this is how I was able to heal from it and grow from it and become a better person. But you can't do that with an open wound. You can't do that about a subject or a topic that still hurts. If it still hurts, then you're still vulnerable, and that's what you have to keep close to the vest. Don't If you don't feel comfortable opening up or sharing an experience or sharing something in your life that still hurts, if you're not fully healed from it, don't share it, because that's being vulnerable, that's not being transparent. And so I wanted to emphasize that, because a lot of people they make the mistake of exposing their wounds while it's still fresh to the wrong people. And now that wrong person causes that thing to become infected, and now it spreads to the rest of the body. So I want us to understand that as leaders, that be vulnerable to the people, parent, to those who you can trust to see your scars. It's important that we understand that, because that's an important aspect of leadership, and a lot of people quit. They give up on their leadership because their trust has been betrayed, because they don't know who has the capacity. They expose themselves to the people that don't have the capacity, and bring it back full circle to the old nature. And now, because of the fact that we expose our vulnerabilities rather than our transparencies, right? We are the old man. That defense mechanism stands up even more. And now it's harder to trust others. Now it's harder to deal with failure. Now it's harder to deal with confrontation and conflict. It is that defense mechanism, that old nature, that makes you take failure personally. When we fail, we take it personally, right? A lot of us when we try something and it fails, or it doesn't get the support, we take it as a personal thing, that they don't like me, they don't want to support me, they don't believe in me, right? That I'm not good enough to make this thing become successful. But failure is a part of the process, and it's a part of the journey. It's a part of, you have to fail your way into success. And so when you experience situations where you fail, it's not something for you to take personally. That's not the time where you listen to the voice telling you to retreat. That's not the time where you listen to the voice that tells you to respond out of anger and out of frustration. That's not the time where you listen to the voice that tells you to get revenge. That's the time where you have to kill the old you, even the greater. And so these are some of the things that we experience, that the old nature comes in and starts to influence us and tells us to respond the old way, to retreat to the fortress and the wall of defense. And so, how do we deal with that? How do we deal when the voice that is in our head is our old man, is our old nature? One of the first things that we have to do, right? Christ said that we have to crucify flesh. And people only think of it in the spiritual sense, right? People only think that it's that when Christ talks about crucifying the flesh or crucifying self, that it means that I can't have a life. That's not what he meant. That's not what he intended. His intention was that you have to crucify that old nature that wants to respond out of impulse and wants to respond in a negative way. So we have to learn to starve our flesh. We have to learn that when we feel those urges, that we practice self-control. We practice the fruits of the Spirit. See, I think so many people, they have this misunderstanding of the Bible that we read, and they have a misconception of this walk that we walk. They have this idea that denying self means that you can't be able to enjoy anything. That you have to live this life of suffering. You have to be bland. You have to be boring. You have to be in church all day, every day. You have to be reading your Bible all day, every day. You have to pray. You can't have a personality. But that's not what it's about. Everything that we're taught, everything that the Bible addresses and speaks about, is about helping us to live the life that Christ lived, and that was a life of servitude, but also a life that allows us to be able to make the right decisions. So when we talk about the fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, All of these things help to control those urges that makes you want to respond in the old way, in the negative way. So we have to learn to deny those urges. We got to learn to push down those voices. That when we start to feel overwhelmed by that old man, that old nature, that we bring it to God. That's why fasting is important. That's why praying is important. All of these things keeps us from making bad decisions, keeps us from focusing on self, keeps us from being delayed in achieving our purpose and achieving our goals and our assignments. See, we got to learn to that when we hear that voice, that devil on our shoulder that tells us to just punch him in the eye, right? It requires us to. It means that we have to be able to say, all right, this is just a bad decision that's not going to turn out good. It's not going to work for my good. So let me just respond as Christ will respond. Let God handle the rest. I know it's difficult because we've had some terrible experiences. There's some things that you've experienced that have been challenging, that have been hard, that have made you tough, that have made you develop that quick snapback, right? There are some things that some people that are quick with their responses, that don't have control over their tongue, that will speak and they will spit fire, right? Usually 99% of the times it only provides instant gratification. You feel good in the moment, but you don't know the long-term damage that it eventually has down the road. See, we have to understand that as leaders that we have an assignment to bring life wherever we go. It is your job to bring life. It is your job to carry vision. It is your job to be a beacon of light and a beacon of hope to others. And so responding in a quick instance of self-gratification can do long-term damage and eventually deny or delay your progress. But when you allow God to deal with it, then you allow God to deal with it, and God will deal with it how he chooses to deal with it. At least you will be blameless. There's certain principles that I've learned throughout my leadership journey. Is that one of the things is that the learning to be blameless, and that requires a lot of self-control. Because people will test you. Like I said, people will push those buttons. People will push you to that place where you just want to just snap, and you want to just launch, and you just want to fire, right? And you just want to release all of the frustration and all of the tensions that you feel. But think about it. If you do those things, what is going to be the long-term effect? Yes, you may feel good in the moment, but what will be the long-term effect? Because people are watching your life is influencing and has impact on others. And so you have to make the decision, do I have a positive impact or do I have a negative impact? That's why it's important to be selfless, because one thing that I've come to realize through my years of experience is that our old nature, our flesh, our selfishness is never satisfied. We can never be satisfied. In the summer, it's too hot. I need the AC to be on 55. In the winter, it's too cold. I need heat, right? I'm tired of eating Chinese food every day. I want pizza. I want salad. I want Mexican food. I'm tired of wearing these sneakers. I want boots. I'm tired of wearing this jacket. I want a sweater. I'm tired of wearing these jeans. I want shorts. We are never satisfied. We always want more. We always are pushing the limit to what we can get. And so you can have those instant self-gratifying moments, but you never become satisfied by it. And so there are times where we have to recognize All right, is this the right response? Is this the Christ-like nature of me, or is it the old me? Is it the angel that's speaking to me, or is it the devil that's speaking to me? Is it the good version of me or the bad version of me that's speaking? And if I listen to one or the other, what will be the lasting effect of it? How will it affect my leadership? How will it affect the vision that I'm trying to build? How will it affect the ministry that I'm in? How will God look at me? How will it affect my relationship with God? Because when your relationship with God is negatively influenced, it puts you in a position where you have no direction, because now you're not hearing the voice of God. You're not getting the instructions that you need to be able to move forward, and you don't have the strength. You don't have the strength that you need to be able to keep going. Bible says that his strength is made perfect in our weakness. And so if we disconnect from him, now we no longer have access to the source of our strength. Now we no longer have access to the source of our vision. So these are the things that we have to consider. We have to I constantly reiterating the importance of self-awareness. You got to recognize, you got to question your thoughts. You got to figure out who is talking to you at the time. Is it doubt? Is it fear? Is it disappointment? Is it the good me? Is it the spirit of God inside of me? Is it the bad, the old me that's speaking? Because whoever has influence over you, who has your ear, has the ability to affect your decision and your decision making ability. And we got to think about the long-term effects of it. So sometimes the voices that are in our head is you. The voice that's in your head that's giving you trouble, that's making things difficult, is you. So you have to, as a leader, recognize that and start taking the steps. All right, I need to build my prayer life. I need to practice the fruits of the spirit. I need to do these things. I need to deny those urges. I need to crucify my flesh. I need to crucify self so that I can be an effective leader. And granted, you have weak moments. You have moments where it's easy, and you have moments when it's not easy, right? At our church, we've been studying Moses and studying his journey in the wilderness, and there were some days where he remained humble, and he didn't allow the things that the people did to him um negatively impact his decision making. There were times where he had to speak to God and restrain and convince God not to destroy them. But there were some days where he allowed it to get to him, and he responded out of anger, and he responded out of his frustration, right? And even in spite of all of that, God still considered him the meekest man on the earth. See, sometimes we hold ourselves hostage because of certain mistakes that we made. But I encourage you to continue to push yourself, continue to practice, to be intentional in your pursuits, be intentional about your disciplines, and allow yourself more grace. There's some days where you can be able to silence the voices, and there's some days where you can't. And on those days that you can't, you have to get yourself right back up. The righteous man falls 7 times and gets back up. When you fall, when you make a mistake, you just got to get back up and push yourself that, all right, next time I'm going to try to do better. This leadership journey that we're on is a journey of growth. It's a journey of maturity. It's a journey of learning and development. And it's not something that you'll be able to get in one day, in one try, not something that you master just in one shot. But it's about being able to get back up. It's about being able to learn along the way and grow from the experiences. And so I want to leave that with you today. The voices that we battle with in our head. When we are able to identify and define them and to recognize what they're saying and when they're speaking, again, it gives us the ability to take our power back. It gives us the ability to practice self-control. It gives us the ability to really lead ourselves so that we can be able to lead others. And so I hope that this was helpful. I hope you were able to get something from it. I hope that this will help you to combat and battle and challenge your own thought life. Think about what you're thinking about. What is it? What am I thinking about? Why am I thinking this way? What is the source of my thoughts? And how should I respond to that to those thoughts? How should I respond to those voices? And when you're able to do that, then you put yourself in a prime position to progress and to grow. And so I want to leave that with you. I appreciate each and every one of you taking the time to join me. I appreciate you taking the time to um hear me discuss some of the things that we all deal with, right? I'm not exempt. Just like everyone else, I deal with the voices in my head, and like I always say that I try to share things that I know from that I learn from experience, and as I learn, I try to share it with you so that you can be able to learn because we're growing together. It's a journey that we're taking together, and we're stronger when we're together than when we are divided. And listen, I hear the voice. I deal with my own voices. I deal with my own challenges, and just because you are in a position of leadership, just because you have a vision, just because you have a ministry, just because you have a business, just because you have a goal, doesn't mean that you're absolved from these voices. These voices are no respect of person. They don't respect who you are. They don't respect your position. They don't respect your title. They don't respect um, where you work or what church you go to or what you do for a living. These voices will speak to you, and it's up to us to have the ability to combat it. And so I hope that this will help you combat your own voices, just as I'm combating my voices. And as we combat them, as we grow, as we learn, we are able to put ourselves in a position where we can have a greater impact. And so I want to leave that with you today. I appreciate all of your comments, all of your feedback, all of the times that you like, you share, you comment. Share the replay with someone that you know that needs to hear this, because many of us leaders, we don't have, there aren't that much resources out there to that, or conversations or things like that, like this, that help us to grow in our leadership. So with that being said, thank you so much. Like I said earlier, please, you can get your hoodie, you can get your t-shirt, your get change the game t-shirt, your change the game hoodie. You can get that to today, starting to from today, start all the way to next Monday, the 29th. Having a Black Friday sale on the site. So you can get your visionary hoodie, your change the game hoodie, your t-shirts. You use the promo code Cyber25 and you can get a 25% discount off of all gear. So I implore you, I encourage you. We as leaders, we got to walk the walk, we got to talk the talk. I personally have it's warm, it's comforting. The other day, I had to look at myself. I had to put the hoodie on and look at myself and remind myself that I am a visionary. I had to remind myself that I have the ability to build vision. And sometimes you need those reminders. It's comfortable. It keeps you warm. Winter is here, right? I won't even say winter is coming. Winter is here because the weather just changed all of a sudden. So get your hoodie, take advantage of the discount, 25% off of everything on the site. T-shirts, hoodies, sweaters. You can get it off of the site. Just click the link. I put it in the chat and you can be able to order it. Order a hoodie or a t-shirt for someone that you know has leadership potential. that has the ability, that has the potential to be a leader, that has the potential to have an impact in the world. We are all called to be leaders, and we all have the ability to make a change. And so use the code cyber25, get your 25% discount, support, and let's change the world. Let's change our world. Let's have an impact. Let's do what we need to do to make a difference. And so I want to leave that with you. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. I hope that you all enjoy your Thanksgiving, that you eat good food, that you have great fellowship with your family and friends and loved ones, and that God will continue to keep you, that God will continue to be with you, that God will continue to strengthen you, and that God will bless you and your family. So enjoy your Thanksgiving. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.